To September's Parish Council meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance this evening. We'll start with our customary moment of silence. Carol. Thank you. First, the housekeeping. There are no planned fire alarms, and if the alarm should sound, please exit the building using the nearest available fire exit. Once leaving the building, please make your way to the muster point, which is located by the staff car park and is identified by a green sign positioned in the shrub bed. Please make yourself known to a member of staff if on duty. This meeting will be recorded, and the meeting may also be recorded and broadcast by the press and members of the public. Please do see section 8 of the guidance for public participation, including recording and use of social media at meetings. Can the gentleman at the back hear me?
Yes, thank you.
That's fine, you're the furthest away from me. I sound loud here, but I don't know how far I carry, so thank you very kindly. So first and foremostly, let's crack on with this evening's agenda. May I have any apologies?
Councillor Stephanie Osborne.
Thank you. And we've not had any from Councillor Mark Clark.
I believe he has indicated he's not available this evening. Work commitments.
Thank you. Okay, so now on to declarations of interest and Councillor Wade.
Chairman, yeah, I'm going to declare an interest in item number 14, land adjoining West Shore House, because Hampshire County Council owns the Snake Park and some of the land adjoining it. I don't believe it's been prejudicial because I'm not involved in any negotiations and there are no personal finances involved. I just happen to be on the county council, that's it. Thank you.
Obviously this is point A, which is any declaration of interest made by members in conjunction with an agenda item and members to specify the nature of the interest. I too will be declaring an interest in item 12C. This is the citizens' advice to enter into contract renewal for the rental area of the Grove. I am on the panel at NFDC that decides the NFDC's grant to citizens' advice. So therefore it's probably appropriate for me to comment or take part in that discussion. So for 12C, I will hand to the Vice Chair to take over the meeting at that time, and I will take no part. Are there any other declarations of interest, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, thank you. Have we received any written requests for dispensation for disclosure of pecuniary interests? Thank you. And lastly, are we granting any requests for dispensation as appropriate? Thank you. We now move on to number 3, which is the community safety update. We do not have a visit from the police today. However, there is a report from the community safety team.
Do you have a question? Chief Inspector Andrews is retiring, as you're aware, at the end of this month. And a new police officer is taking, his name escaping at the moment. Has there been any communication, as the clerk, from the new police inspector at the Waterside in regards to coming to account and engaging with the community?
Yeah, there has been communication. We've given them the dates of all the meetings, and so they will try and put it into their schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Dowd.
Yes, can I just check on the update for the CCTV footage and access to it? Because we have an issue with our ACSO service being able to access footage when there's ASB behaviour. So I just wondered if we'd had any further news on that.
No, there's no update on it.
Thank you.
Do you want me to leave you to take that forward, or?
No, that's absolutely fine. Thank you.
Councillor Fairhead.
Can we as a council thank Helen for her service to our community on her retirement?
We can write to Inspector Andrews and pass on our thanks on behalf of the Parish Council. Anyone have any issue with that?
Good idea.
We're going to write a letter to thank Inspector Andrews on behalf of her retirement. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Fairhead. And have you had a good opportunity to read the July, August and September report from the ACSOs? Thank you. Any questions at all before we move on? Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to move on to the minutes from the previous meeting held, it's quite a long way away now, doesn't it? Way back when, on Wednesday, 27th of July. go page by page, and any councillors who wish to comment or challenge, then please raise your hand, okay? So page 1, or it might also show as page 7 in your papers. Page 8. Page 9. And lastly, page 10.
Happy to propose.
Seconded.
All in favour of accepting the true reflection of the meeting? Thank you. So now we can move on to Chairman's announcements, and I just apologise, unfortunately there are a fair old few, because a lot has happened in the last couple of months, so I do apologise. Firstly, on behalf of the Parish Council, I want to thank our community for the beautiful messages and memories they have shared on Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, following her death earlier this month. Residents, local businesses, places of worship and more were all united in mourning and remembering our much-loved Queen. She was a constant in all of our lives, and following her passing, the council staff reacted swiftly to arrange the lowering of the flag on the grove, arranging a book of condolence, and for our community to pay their respects, and ensure that our website and social media sites were updated accordingly. I do want to thank all the parish council staff who played their part in these actions, which were undertaken effectively and respectfully. Your support was truly valued. Thank you. On Saturday, August the 6th, I had the honour of presenting the Community Spirit and Environmental Awards in the centre of Hythe on a gorgeous August afternoon. It was like last year, part of the Hythe activity event, and the presentation of the certificates, pins and the overall winners in was a pretty packed village centre there, as part of the Parish Council event has continued to be a huge success. I do want to thank Helen Bradley for helping to organise the award, Councillors Lovell, Fairhead and McLean, and Officers Sean and Helen for being the judging panel, and Councillors McLean, Fairhead, Malcolm Wade for supporting me present the awards, and most importantly to everyone that nominated a member of our community. I would also like to congratulate those that were nominated and thank you all for all you have done for the people of Hythe and Dibden. It really is extraordinary how generous and caring our community is. And the two overall winners, the Environmental Award being awarded to Brenda Weaver for her litter picking around Hythe Village Centre, and the Community Spirit Award, a very popular winner, Barry Beavers. For the generations of residents and families who've been very happy with Barry's farm, among other issues. Nominations are now open for 2023's awards, and information can be found on the parish website. However, since we presented Barry with the award, there has been very sad news that Barry has passed away. His wife Janice, until recently, works at the parish, and officers, staff and councillors have Janice and all of the family in their thoughts. Barry was a hugely loved member of the community. He was a firefighter who served at Hythe Station and helped to save the station in the mid-90s. He helped set up the original Christmas fire engine, and for his much-loved farm brought joy to so many who stopped to meet his animals. It was a very sad loss to the community. In Hythe of activity on the same day, there were at least 40 stallholders pitched up in the village centre. It was a very successful day. Once again, a vast array of local organisations and volunteer groups shared their great work, looking for volunteers. The feedback has been very positive. Another busy village centre and a vibrant atmosphere. There are those who are keen to have a stall already next year. My thanks to Helen, the maintenance team and everyone who made the event a success. Now, on to some goodbyes that we have to deliver this month. Malcolm has already raised that Inspector Helen Andrews will be retiring from the Hants Police at the end of this month. The new neighbourhood sergeant for our area is Philip Brown, and the new inspector is Thomas Orchard. We're grateful to have an inspector who's been willing to attend our meetings and listen to local councillors' concerns, and I'll be hoping her replacement can continue these visits. The Parish Council is also saying goodbye to 3 of our brilliant staff members. ACSO Charlie Richardson will be leaving us to a new role, and we will miss her dedication, proactive and good-humoured approach. She's worked tirelessly for the ACSO team, and we wish her all the best in her new adventure. And after 10 years, one of our hard-working and hugely valued maintenance team, Grant Morgan, will be leaving to a new role. We wish him every success in his new job and thank him for his long service with the council. Grant has played a key part in making our parish look stunning on a daily basis, in any and all conditions. We are very grateful for his dedication and his giving the team, and we wish him every success in the future. And lastly, we do say goodbye to Janice. She's worked for the parish office for over 30 years. She's been a mainstay of the team since before I joined the council, and has been such a warm, supportive and hard-working presence for councillors and colleagues alike. Genuinely one of the loveliest people you will ever come across. She was a vital member of the administrative function for this parish, and for very understandable reasons, we will be presenting her with a token of appreciation at a later date instead. The horticultural show was held on Saturday the 30th of July at St Andrews in DP. This was a much needed return for the horticultural and craft show. It was well attended, and my thanks to all volunteers and stallholders who supported this long-standing event. Special well done to Councillor Dowd, who popped by and ended up helping out for the afternoon. Thank you, Philip. Lastly, on upcoming events, tickets are available at the Herald's office for the latest Soup Dragons event on October the 6th at the Parish Hall. Local community groups and business startups will pitch for a funding pot. It's a really interesting event and a good evening out as well. And we also have the Hythe Halloween treat sale returning on October the 29th. So for those young family members, it's a really good fun event. My son's got his costume sorted already. And lastly, I do need to update you, by the way, with regard to Prospect Place open space. A slightly misleading article in the media this week, but just to update you, following objections and concerns about the proposed work being raised by the Environment Agency and Natural England, the planning application was withdrawn. The Parish Council, working with a resident of Hythe, are working to overcome the objections and concerns. It is anticipated that an amended application will be submitted in due course. The lack of progress after consulting with the District Council and the Environment Agency is particularly disappointing, because the proposal is effectively a simple landscaping project that will alleviate the threat of flooding to residential and commercial properties in the short term. However, it has been viewed as a major flood alleviation project which is subject to various requirements by external agencies. So that's for the Prospect Place plan that I believe that Council is interested in finding out. My apologies for the length of that report, but a lot has gone on over the summer in our community. We now move on to reports by county and district members. First, have we received any from Councillor Alexis McAvoy? Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Wade, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. I attended the Children and Young People Select Committee calling meeting at the end of July, the very day after the last Parish Council meeting. I and other members of the Children and Young People Select Committee called in the decision to save just under £1 million by reducing the home to school transport service, to combine routes, some of which would need parents to take their children to pick up points at their early starts. It also combines children with serious mental and special needs with mainstream school children to save money. It was this last point which we called the decision in for. Myself and other councillors gave focused, honest and thoughtful reasons why the plan to mix children with mental and special needs with mainstream children should be reversed. But still the Conservative administration refused to change its approach on such a relatively small part of the saving. At the end of the meeting, the mother of a special needs child approached me in tears. And this is quite a poignant moment. She had to thank me for standing up for her son. She said, "We understood the impact this will have on her child." Sadly, the administration did not. In response to the Reclassification Committee giving permission to T&J Transport to modify their planning permission for Forest Lodge Farm quarry to double their operational activity from 96 HGV movements a day to 192, I, with the help of fellow councillors on this council, did a letter drop on Nephew Estate and the surrounding areas of Bucks Ash. It explained that what had taken place, including one of the reasons was the lack of complaints about the existing quarry operations, and who should they complain to in the future if they wish. The result was over 30 complaints and a lot of unhappiness at this decision. Most people did not like what was taking place and were unhappy with the current operations, let alone the increase. In passing this to the council, they have changed their approach and they will now mail drop a much larger area if there are any changes. And I've asked the quarry liaison panel to be moved to the evening so members of the public can attend. I haven't had an answer on that. They now have a route complained by myself, which will be answered. The August recess and sad loss of the National Queen has stopped and delayed further council meetings, but casework for our residents has continued unabated.
Thank you, Councillor Wade. So we now move on to district members. We're going to go alphabetical, so we start with Councillor Cullen.
I, with a number of councillors, attended the King's Proclamation. council meeting on the following day was more of a ceremonial where the councillors expressed their thanks for the Majesty's service and their recollections of those of them who've been fortunate enough to meet her. I also attended the Landlords Forum, and there was a presentation to regards to health and safety to local landlords, and it's a good forum by which the NFDC are reaching out to private landlords as a form of accommodation.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Alan? We now move on to Councillor Devon.
Nothing much to report, Chairman, other than I also attended the formal New Forest things for the...
Agreed. Can I just say Councillor Delamere made a very good contribution to that to discussion.
Very much did. Okay, so we now move on to Councillor Downs.
Yes, on the 5th of September, I attended the District Council's Coastal Strategy briefing, not because I was particularly interested in what was going on at that end of the district, but to comment on the lack of a coherent strategy for our region, that is the Lillington to Redbridge part of the coastal and river strategy, as they are the gatekeeper organisation for that. And I wanted to impress on them the effect this has on flooding issues in the east of the district. And that links to an earlier point. On the 26th of September, we had our next in the series of waste strategy meetings. Really, in effect, it's business as usual. We're still waiting for the government response. Junior Minister Steve Double needs to confirm producer responsibility, food waste and new burdens funding, and that's holding everything up. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Wade.
Thank you, Chair. I attended the Planning Commission on the 10th of August, but there were no Hythe and Dibden applications on the agenda, and there aren't on the next one either, which is delayed to tomorrow. September 7th, I attended the Cabinet dealing with the delaying and vehicle replacement strategy, the strategic risk management and medium-term financial plan. It was the latter item that's raised the red flag, as it projects a future 3.3 billion deficit. This is mainly based upon the proposed changes to the business rate retention scheme, losing the council up to 2.2 billion. There is currently no time frame for this, to bring in this change. NFDC were making savings stroke cuts to compensate without knowing when the extra money will be needed. While it is prudent to plan financially, the administration collecting huge sums of money that immediately need and put it into reserves when it should be spent on seriously forest residents in the current cost of living crisis is something we will be scrutinising closely and taking into task for. On the following day, I attended the Environment, Sustainability and Overview Scrutiny Panel. There's an update on the waste programme, nothing much is different from there. Mainly concerning the lack of national consultation information along the working updates from Hampshire Council. Now, in common with the report Councillor Downs has just said, the other item that was locally was a coastal services update. As usually, most about the southern coastal works of the forest and some repairs to Council Spit. However, I did not miss the opportunity to raise the issue of the waterside coastal responsibility. I queried why the Forest District Council was responsible for its coastline, but not doing anything about its eastern coastline. Well, they don't own the land, they said, nor do they have any money, they said. But put the environment agency in the time frame, well, this is not good enough. And that approach has to change. There was a meeting about the loss of the board, local residents, other members around this table attended to, and NFDRC officers. And with our own Hampshire Council, New Forest District Council, Parish Council working together to come up with solutions to give local Dibden residents an alternative pathway route to one proposed NFDC, which they seem happy about, but it's currently still a work in progress, and more can be reported on this in the future. The sad loss of Majesty the Queen has stopped delayed further council meetings actions, but casework, they said, carries on. However, I too, with other members around the table, attended the proclamation of King Charles III, and indeed the ceremonial council meeting for tributes to the late Elizabeth II. And there were very many poignant and sensitive tributes from all sides of the chamber in that chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, on to my NFDC councillor report. As you may be aware, NFDC have put in the planning application for 22 council homes on the site of Hythe Hospital. This is next to the new hospital building, and it has been through parish planning and awaiting officers' comments to see if it goes to NFDC panel. However, while I welcome much needed affordable housing, Councillor Cullen and I, as ward members, will be speaking with the officers in charge of the pre-development plan should the application be approved. This will be regarding not repeating the issues currently endured by residents living opposite the site, with consistent antisocial and arguably dangerous parking by those working on the development. Residents in Fairview Drive and Langdown Lawn Close have been particularly impacted despite an agreed parking location at St Michael's Church. We have been in touch with NHS Property Services over the past few months to share residents' frustrations. Although the Community Overview and Scrutiny panel was cancelled, that's the panel that I sit on, due to the Queen's mourning period, I have been in contact with NFDC's contract officer that works with Freedom Leisure over some issues raised by centre users. These are connected to CCTV systems, pool temperatures and communication, and I will continue to try and engage further and keep you updated. NFDC are continuing to plant more trees in remembrance of Her Majesty in the district. This initiative was to celebrate her Jubilee, and this has now been extended to March 23, with 60 more trees are to be planted, including some in Hythe. Nominations are still open for local businesses in the New Forest for the Brilliant Business Awards, and that closes on October the 1st. 18 awards are up for grabs, so you can nominate yours or your own businesses there. There's information on the NFDC website. A resident survey will be undertaken from September to November, with 750 residents being called to carry out a telephone survey. An agency called DHS will be undertaking it on behalf of the council, and they'll be asking questions on the local area and service provision. And lastly, casework again has been steady over the summer with some short and long-term issues. Full council in September, as has been previously mentioned, was rearranged to be solely a meeting where tributes were made to the Queen, and in addition, both my panels, Housing and Community, were cancelled as they fell in the mourning period. And lastly, next month Cabinet will likely agree on the health and wellbeing strategy for 22-25. The focus will be on partnership working, improving mental wellbeing and increasing physical activity. Some of what is in the plan is already existing, and there is acknowledgement that there are areas of high deprivation that are often linked with health inequalities. Langdown and Bucksash is named as an area where there are higher levels of deprivation in the forest, and I will obviously update further after the Cabinet meeting as with other councillors. Thank you. We now move on to reports from members serving on outside bodies. Do we have any who wish to comment? Councillor Philip Down to start, please.
Really to just confirm the next meeting of the WaterCAN, the Waterside Climate Action Network, which is on the 19th of October, and that's where the steering committee will meet for the first time. So there's lots of interest in that, and that's going to be good. Thank you.
Councillor Downs. Does anyone else have anything they wish to add for the outside bodies? No? Okay, thank you very much. So we now move on to item 8, which is in public forum. Firstly, clerk to notify any written questions submitted by electors attending the meeting. Perfect. So now we move on to electors to address the meeting. So who wishes to speak?
My name is Mel Hart. This is my wife Rachel. We live at number 6 Appling Road, which is just a minute or so away from here. We live about 50 metres from the Hythe delivery office, or Hythe sorting. And we would like to know if there's anything that can be done to stop the parking of Royal Mail vehicles on that part of the road. I think we bear the brunt of the visual impact of it, in that we live at number 6, which is closest to the building. But as well as the visual aspect of it, of having Royal Mail vans up and down the road, there is also the safety aspect where cars and vans park across the road. On more than one occasion, the road has been narrowed to the extent that a large vehicle, let's say a fire engine for example, would not be able to get through. And in fact, earlier this year, we were out in the front garden, and one of the guys working at the fire station actually stopped and says, "Do you know who that is?" And all we could say was, "We believe it's the Royal Mail people." because he said there is not enough room to get a fire engine up there. Well, about a year ago we approached the sorting office and spoke to the manager there, and she said that some parking spaces have been allocated in the public car park and that the staff were supposed to be using those, but that doesn't seem to be the case. There's nearly always one or two vans parked directly across the road.
The transit vans as well, there's lots of questions raised by that. Excuse my voice, I've just had throat surgery. It's not, as my husband said, just the visual impact, it's not only the safety impact, it's the fact that they've outgrown the site, that Hythe Road, which we paid a lot of money to live in nearly 2 years ago, is basically being used as a commercial car park. Not only do the vans dominate this end of the road, but they also park all over, while it might not be illegal, I mean there's a bit of common decency here, they park all over the BT site, all over the grass verges. They've clearly outgrown the site. Not only that, staff members aren't exactly quiet in early hours. We understand that NFDC have actually allocated parking permits to the staff for the library car park, the New Road car park, which they're clearly too lazy to use. Hence, they end up parking in our road and really just, it's a matter, they're just inconsiderate, and I think it's a shameful thing really. There are other neighbours that are concerned, but whether they're, doing enough. I know I've emailed Royal Mail the first couple of times as well, and I actually had a picture of 2 Royal Mail vans and another one trying to squeeze through their own vans on each side of the pavement where they were parked out, and it was, oh well, they're not doing anything illegal, and basically fobbed off. And so I just kept on sending more and more photographs and didn't even get a response in the end, and that's from the headquarters.
Well, I guess the issue is the site has outgrown the space available, and perhaps there's some pressure to be put to get them to move to somewhere where there's more space.
And also basically it's to stop being so lazy and use their parking permits, which is at cost to the public, I guess.
Thank you.
So that's our...
Right.
Thank you for raising. We do actually have one of our councillors lives in Hythe Road, and my day job, not operational, was working for the fire service, and I know that route is probably most direct to get to certain areas of Hythe, and I think we've all seen it. We've all seen the traffic up and down there. I was aware that parking clocks were given. I wasn't aware whether therefore they're private vehicles or for their office vehicles. We have written to them before, haven't we?
We've written twice.
And we have no response, as I understand. Okay. I'm going to bring in firstly the county councillor, because obviously if there's an element of highways here, and I would suggest that you might be able to share some light, and also give an example of what we did maybe with Shaw Road, perhaps, Malcolm.
Yeah. Clearly, the issue you're facing is what it says inconsiderate parking. So, we are more than sympathetic about the issue. We've Parish Council quit twice, once a couple of years ago, I think, when I was chairman, and replaced it recently.
It was 16 months ago and then about 10 months ago.
That's interesting. But anyway, I've got a plan, an idea. Like, Hampshire County Council is now responsible for on-road parking. And what was to change parking, put yellow lines and all the rest of it, cost them a traffic order, money and all the rest of it. They are open to public pressure. Okay? And what I would suggest is that this council writes to the parking services departments of Hampshire County Council complaining about this issue in very strong terms. And I would request that all residents in your road do the same. The more complaints they get, the more likely they are to consider doing something. Because it is legal to park where it's inconsiderate, but it's legal. So, we have to make them understand, and I'll complain, I have no problem with that at all. Complain again is, because I've complained before, Councillor Roberts has come to complain a number of times, so we need to do this again. We need it en masse.
Can I ask, is it legal to park fully on the pavement?
Well, it's against the highway code, but no one ever is going to enforce it. What we have to do is get Hampshire County Council to put in parking restraints, yellow lines. It's the only way we're ever going to stop it. Right? So what I would suggest is that you and all your neighbours write complaints to Hampshire County Council's parking services, This council complains, I'll complain, and the more complaints they get, the more likely we can get a response from them. I know it's a bit pain, progression, but it is the only way we're going to address this. We've written to the post office twice, and clearly that's not had an impact. Perhaps we should write a third time and go and see him.
Thank you, Matt. So before I come back, thank you, Malcolm. Sue.
Can I just say that I think the way you need to attack this is by safety. Although parking has been de-restricted and it's not a police intervention matter, if it can be seen that it is detrimental to the safety of pedestrians, walking along the pavement. You need to prove that with photographs. Yes. And it might mean getting up at 5 a.m. when they arrive or something. I think you need as much of a database as possible, times, dates. You might need to do this for a few months to establish patterns, and then get the police involved in these patterns of how it's dangerous for A, of the road users, and then B, for pedestrians. And it's only when you're establishing that kind of pattern and database that you can approach the police and say this is a matter of concern, and then, as Malcolm Wade suggested, that can back up letters that go to, or emails that go to parking services at Hampshire County Council. And it's only with that widespread pressure and evidence database that you can take this kind of thing forward.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just also add to that those images that you sent to the post office and they didn't acknowledge this one, do you still have them to hand? Absolutely send them with your letters and emails. Honestly, the images can tell 1,000 words and they will make a huge difference, because we've had a similar issue in Shore Road. Again, with a lot of sort of inconvenient parking, issues of speed and safety, and evidence is what it's called. I think that was right, wasn't it? Lots of evidence was called, with good images that showed
Complaints from the public.
along with the complaints of the public. So the more images, the better. I'm not advocating getting up at 5 in the morning, but if that's obviously
You don't actually need to.
No, you don't, because I've seen it at various times of the day, if I'm
Yeah,
brutally honest. And yes, you don't even need to be regularly living that in roads, unfortunately, to see that that's a problem. I don't know if we can use the argument that it's a key area for the fire service to drive through.
Measure a fire engine and measure the distance available. That's evidence.
Just very quickly, because I'm not familiar, does a petition carry as much weight as rather than each resident writing a letter, or both?
If you can get a petition going, or better.
And now, do you think they're being in breach of being commercial vehicles, being in breach of their insurance? Parking, not parking within the site, parking on a residential road. I mean, I don't know what's in the back of those vans, but it's just another angle maybe.
That depends on their own insurance. I can't say sorry.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Twello.
Yeah. I'm here tonight, and you'll be relieved to know it's not about boundaries. I've basically given up on that, having any sensible dialogue with the parish council. So I'm not going to have any more discussions on that or any communication whatsoever. The reason I'm here tonight is because I noticed on the agenda number 17, which is an open item, which is quite pleasing for a change. It's about the council to consider a response to Southern Water's intention of reclassifying the public sewer to a private one. Now obviously I've sent you the residents' response for all 12 households in Ballydean and also 22 Highlands Way. So I presume everyone has got that and has read it and the content. Also you would have had, I also forwarded Dr. Roger Bird's response to Southern Water, which is obviously gives more details of why it's been rejected. So what I'm saying to you, you're going to have a discussion on this. Is this going to be a proper discussion, or is it just going around the table saying, has anybody got any objections?
Where it's discussion, as I say, I can't predict the outcome because obviously we haven't discussed it in public session yet. And as I say, you may agree or disagree with the final outcome, but I haven't spoken to councillors about this. It's in public session for that reason, so it's the opportunity to have a proper debate and discussion. That's why it's on there and balance all the various whys and wherefores. Obviously, you've got the residents' feedback. I understand one of the Malcolm will be able to advise on county council feedback at the time. But it's right, it's further down the agenda. So yes, we'll have to have a really good discussion about it because obviously councillors may have differing views about the most appropriate course of action, considering sort of the wider issue. I can't go into more detail because obviously we haven't had a good debate on it.
But I take it the council is aware that legally at the moment it is a public sewer, and the reclassification is to a private sewer, and the implications of that to the parish council and also the local taxpayers, if you agree to change that from a public sewer to a private sewer. So I hope you're taking that into consideration in your discussions. In regard to the letter that was sent to the residents of Ballydean in 22 Highlands Way,
is that the letter from Southern Water?
The letter from Southern Water on their intention of reclassifying it from a public to private sewer. I also understand that other residents in in Highlands Way have received a letter from Southern Water. I don't know the contents of this letter. I don't know if it's similar to the one that was sent to us or to the parish council. The other thing is, in the letters that we received, it says 28 days to respond. Otherwise, it's deemed that you accept their intention to change the reclassification. Did the council have that 28-day period to respond?
A quick response is we will get back tomorrow morning with whatever the council decides this evening.
Yeah, but the 28-day expired yesterday because the letter was dated the 30th of August.
It took 8 days for that letter to reach the council. We'll respond tomorrow morning.
Did we have a deadline?
It said the same as what it said.
28 days from the date of the letter.
Okay, I don't think we can argue that right now. We'll respond tomorrow.
No, it might be too late because you haven't responded within the 28 days. Anyway, that's up to you.
No, I do take the point. I think the letter that we received as a parish would have been consistent with the one the residents received. And I wasn't aware that at the time when we received the letter that was going to the wider Highland Way, and I don't know what's in the letter, to be honest.
No, I don't. But I'd like to know, and I'd like to know how many other Highland Way residents received a letter. Let's see what else I was going to say. Yeah, also obviously item 20 is about Ballydean again, which is a closed session, which is normal, where you're going to discuss our residents' responses to your offer. Fair enough. I already said in the emails that we will consider the offer, but it is subject to our conditions being accepted, and that's not negotiable.
Sorry.
So that is not negotiable. You have to accept our conditions, which are quite reasonable.
Sorry, 1 minute. So just the clarification, so that's, we're having a discussion later in the meeting about those further issues. It's the first opportunity as a full council we had to do that. By the nature of the last full council was in July, so that's a good opportunity for councils to have that discussion, but obviously we can't go into further information.
Another thing that I mentioned in my
Can I
personal...
raise a point of order, please, Chairman? This is for questions to council, not a critique on the meeting and the extent of debate. I think we have questions and we need to move on, please. It's a full agenda.
Sorry, Mr. Friday, do you have another point to raise?
Sorry?
Do you have another point to raise, sir?
Well, I just, before I was really interrupted there, the other point I wanted to make was when I sent in my personal conditions, I did mention about the Highways Act of 1980. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Not to have
But
that.
it's a situation where, funny enough, a resident on the other side of Ballydean had an experience 20 years ago, and he had a road drainage pipe.
Is there
Yes.
a question to this, sir?
Sorry.
May I ask, is there a question?
Well, the question is, have you read the Highways Act of 1980? I think it would be a good idea to do that, and also perhaps challenge Hampshire County Council, because it's all about they have the right to put road drainage into a sewer pipe, but they have responsibilities if there's any consequences of that. So I suggest you actually read that and perhaps challenge Hampshire County Council.
Well, thank you. We'll take all that into account. We've got a big conversation about this, as we always do on DD. Thank you very much for all those points. I'm not going to...
I've read it to him. I don't know if I've got the answer to his question.
If it's a brief answer...
Brief answer. In that act, it says that Hampshire County Council is allowed to put highway drainage water down a watercourse, man-made or natural.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
And
End of. And it doesn't say it's got to do with it to it.
Well,
so anyway, to be fair,
I'm happy to have a debate on this at another occasion. I know that we've got the protocol of everything else in the parish council, I respect that, and I'm happy to have any discussion with anybody, and so will all the other residents.
Good. Thank you, Mrs. Fodan.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Now moving on to council's appointments, item 10. So, to appoint councillors Cullen and Lodge to the Climate Committee. You can see the existing current members already. Can I have a proposal? No. Very good. Sorry. I think councillors speaking up. Sorry. Number 9. Councillors to take questions from councillors. No, Councillor Clay, you haven't spoken yet. You can go first.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Two questions. Is the Chairman aware that a while ago we used to sometimes have seats outside premises where elderly people or people didn't feel very well could sit down? Now, I've been out with a load of senior citizens, shall we say, today, and one was very adamant that she was probably going, bless her. Anyway, cut a long story short, she asked one of the retailers in Hythe, why don't you put a seat out just in case somebody doesn't feel very well, or, you know, they're getting a bit too old and they have a rest. And she was told, she was very irate when she told me, that apparently she was told they don't put seats outside their premises because elderly people might sit on them and they might wet themselves. So she was rather irate to get past that, and she wonders if probably we could do something about writing to, we've got Jenna here, yeah, you're laughing.
I wonder who it was, that's all.
No, I don't know, she didn't say. That was one thing. So can we just send a note round and say, if you've got spare place outside your shops or something, you might occasionally put a chair out or have it in your premises. That's one thing.
So can I just come back on that first point?
Sorry?
I'll just start trying to answer that first one.
Oh, yes.
Sean might be able to help. Was this a parish initiative? Was it an NFDC initiative through licensing? I've not come across this.
I was not aware of it, Chairman.
Would the parish development officer know if we asked her?
We can certainly ask her, but I'm not aware of it, so we can ask her.
Okay, Jem, is this related to this point?
Yeah. For us as businesses, we do, for all of our shops anyway, we do have chairs, and whenever we've seen somebody, all the businesses that I can see anyway, have gone out with a chair to give somebody, but we could never all leave our chairs outside because they may not be there when we go back to sleep.
I did say that to her, but I think the rate bit was that she thought all elderly people were accused of wetting the chairs. So that was one thing. So it's just worth mentioning, I mean, whether Gemma can, and the other thing is, Chairman, are you also aware that Julie Richards from Cancer Support Centre has now retired from there, and would it be a nice idea to thank her for all the hard work that she has done?
Yes, it would be. We should write and thank her. That service is extraordinary, frankly, and it's done so much for so many. And you know, she helped lead the way. Whether you are, you know, you're in a horrible condition, a horrible situation of having cancer, or you're a friend and family member, that service has been valuable for so many. So I completely agree. That was a fantastic suggestion, Councillor McLean. Again, on your first point, I've not come across. I know some people might not put seats out in certain areas from a licensing perspective, but for me this sounds very much like a particular business saying an inappropriate words into a resident rather than... Yes, I know. But anyway, as I say, I think we'll have a word with the Parish Development Officer about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? I was just going to say, I think anyone else? Out of ways?
I have three. Is the Chairman aware that on Wednesday the 19th of October at 2 p.m. the new Hythe War Memorial dedication ceremony will take place for the new hospital.
I was aware, as I did.
Is it the hospital, did you say?
Yeah, it's the dedication ceremony for the War Memorial.
Lovely.
Secondly, is the Chairman aware that I have been contacted by Greenwood School? They have a vacancy for LA governor. Greenwood School is a special school that deals with young people with challenging circumstances and a pupil referral unit. So if a member of this council wishes to be a governor in there, let me know and I will happily pass it on to the school. Final one. Is the Chairman aware that you mentioned earlier Barringsfield and the animals to look after? I was approached by one of the people involved in that situation, said they need some support with getting vets to check the animals out. I wonder whether, I'm not sure what what relationship this council has with the volunteers who are working there, or whether we could, to help them out, contact a local vet to see if they're available to go and to help out with that. It's really just to check the animals, just to health check. I think that's what they're after. So that's my future.
Thank you. I was aware of the hospitals. I've been invited.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing about the governor. And with regards to contacting local vets, and it's quite an unusual query. I don't know if as chairman I could myself write to or contact them directly.
You need to work with the people who are helping.
But contact the people behind Barringsfield first and ask them what support, if any.
So technically, you're asking for a freebie from a business. Is that?
Yeah, I'm asking them to support a local charity. Maybe ask them. Is there any other, is the Chairman aware of any other questions to councils based on district and county reports? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, Maureen, I skipped that bit. Councillor appointments. Okay. This is to appoint councillors Lodge and Talent to the Climate Committee. Can I have a proposer and a seconder?
I'm happy to propose.
All those in favour, please raise your hands. And all those against. Thank you. So I can confirm Sean Cullen and Simon Lodge will be joining the Climate Committee. The current members are listed there. That's Councillors Dowd, Joins, Delamere, Clark, Osborne and Wade M and A. 10B is to appoint an additional member to the Grants Working Group. Current members Dowd, Fairhead and McLean. This is a request from General Purpose and Finance. Is there anyone interested in joining the Grants Working Group? It meets sporadically, not at fixed periods, for when sort of grants come in. And you normally at the
We
daytime?
can meet by Zoom if we want to.
Can I ask, Chairman, why GPNF have asked for an additional person?
Sure, as Vice Chairman, GPNF.
I'd like to defer to the chair, but he's actually, to be fair, he's an elderly gentleman, he might be more about wiping the chair.
Dear.
Nothing to do with numbers.
Yeah, it was to do with numbers, it was to do, it was to do with numbers. I was trying to make others happy, I'd say. But yes, it's to do with numbers and making sure.
Yeah, I'm just, it was a request for GPNF. It's not totally necessary because we don't need to actually meet. We can do this by Zoom or email or, you know, it's a bit more flexible as it's a working group.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, Gemma's
If you want to do it, do it.
Are you sure?
I don't mind either.
No, I let council level do it. I suppose it shorter numbers. Okay, so I can propose Councillor Lovell, please. Seconder, all in favour, Councillor Lovell? Thank you. You're out the room, so technically not there. So we now move on to 10C, which is confirm the appointments of Councillor Fairhead and Councillor McLean to the CCTV working group. Current members are Councillor Mark Clark, Philip Dowd and Malcolm Wade. Can I have a proposer and a seconder?
I'm happy to propose.
Okay, all those in favour? Thank you. So that's Maureen and Alan joining the CCTV working group. We had a visit many years ago, didn't we, before they revamped it, didn't we, Maureen? We had a visit to the CCTV working group many years ago.
Yes, that's just very good.
It's completely different now.
Yes, good.
So we now move on to item 11, which is to agree to help proposals for alterations to its articles of association. We sort of shared this quite a while ago. And are you able to sort of give a bit more detail and flesh on this for us, Sue?
Yeah, I wouldn't give too much detail on the flesh because there's nothing really to get that excited about. It's a lot of pages in your pack. I really don't think there's anything to worry about. It's quite technical, really.
Councillor Dowd.
It all seems very sensible. I'm happy to propose it.
I'll second it, Jim.
As I say, they're all very sensible about how it runs itself. Does anyone have any questions or anything to challenge what's been proposed? Okay, thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you. We now move on to item 12, citizens' advice. Firstly, 12C I will hand over to Councillor Joins, but we'll do 12A first, which is to note the letter from Citizens Advisory Forest Chief Officer outlining the work of Citizens Advisory Forest, particularly in the Hythe and Dibden district wards. Have we all had an opportunity to read the letter? Thank you. Is there any further comments? Thank you. And that's for noting at this stage. We now move on to item B, which is to note Citizens Advisory's Summer 22 newsletter. Thank you. And I'm now going to hand the chair over to Councillor Joins. I'm basically going to shut up because I have very interest.
Citizens' advice are to enter into a contract renewal for the rental of the area that they currently have at the Grove and to decide rate increase and lease term. Would you like to comment on what that is going to be?
Yeah, basically, we have, I think there's a draft contract in your papers. The thing you need to decide is the rental increase amount, because obviously they're entering into a new 3-year contract and there's a break clause after 12 months being inserted in there. In terms of the rent that they pay, it's £5,364 per annum. However, a grant is given back to them by this council of £3,538, and that's therefore that's a net of about 1826. So we need to decide what the rental increase should be. I suggest about 10%, but obviously it's up to everyone here to decide, and this is for the 3-year term.
Does anyone have that? Sorry, Councillor Dowd.
Yeah, I mean it's almost impossible, isn't it, to make further decisions on increases at the moment. So I would be happy to accept 10% as a realistic working figure.
Anybody else?
Second, Councillor Dowd's suggestion.
So all in favour of 10%?
And is that all in favour of the renewal contract as well?
All in favour?
Yes.
That's cast vote.
Okay, so item 13 is to note the summer 2022 report from the Handy Trust, which was pretty inclusive and pretty impressive on the projects that they've done over the summer, working with a variety of agencies. Does anyone have any comments?
Should also declare interest as a trustee on that trust. We got that at the beginning.
Yes, no.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cullen.
And that's a very good report, actually.
Noted, thank you. As I say, this is just a noting, and as I say, there's a lot of good partnership agency work that the Parish Council did in the Allotments Fund, among others, and it's done an incredible amount of work over the summer for so many children and families. So no further comments on that, councillors? Thank you. Okay, we now move on to item 14, which is regarding the land adjoining West Shore House in Hythe. So we're talking pretty much the land sort of near around what was the old skate park area, just at the edge of the police station site. We've had a request to exercise a break notice for the land adjoining West Shore House, and this is obviously a lease that was originally made between the County Council and our good selves, Hythe and Dibden Parish Council. Councillor Malcolm Wade has declared an interest as the County Councillor. Is there anything further to add on this, Sean?
No, Chair.
Have you all had an opportunity to read the letter and the break clause? It effectively, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, says that the Parish Council will return the land back to the County Council and effectively end the lease and no longer have any action or responsibility for it. Is there anything else officers wish to add to that, or is that pretty self-explanatory?
It was expected.
Okay, thank you. So can I have a proposal, please, if you are happy with this or not?
I'm happy to propose.
Happy to second.
Okay, so all that in favour of supporting the request from Hampshire County Council to end the lease for the land adjoining West Shore House in Hythe, please raise your hands. All those against? Any abstained? No.
I'm just saying this at the end.
Yeah, aside and against. Thank you. We now move on to number 15, which is Forest Lodge Farm. Again, to approve the lease for Forest Lodge Farm, if available at the time, which I understand it is. This has been a long old bit of work, isn't it, Sean, with regards to the allotments that we'll have on the site. Is there anything further that you wish to add, and just sort of give an insight into the longevity of this bit of work for you, Sean?
No, as you got members know, I've been involved for a long time with this one. We finally, Sue and I have made several comments on the original lease, which we felt strengthened this lease because council offers more protection. So I recommend we sign it, and that's what we provide the allotments really.
We've also negotiated some financial assistance with the person.
Thank you. And just for, obviously for those interested parties, how many allotments will this be adding to our number?
Seven.
7, and we do have a waiting list still, as I understand. Allotments remain.
I understand that all of these 7, I think, will be allocated.
All allocated.
On the list.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they'll be allocated.
Really good news.
Day after they're available.
Perfect. So, can I have a proposer?
Happy to propose.
Second. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? And any abstentions? No? Okay, thank you. So, we all happy with that?
Yes.
So we now move on to item number 16, Transforming Cities Fund, bus shelter improvements. Again, this is quite a bit of a good news story. So this is just an update sent to Sean and Sue, and it's for us to note the report. It's that Transforming Cities Fund, which is a central government, has been delivered by the County Council and its partners. Part of this project is bus stop infrastructure, and as you can see on the attached paper, a very jazzy bus stop, with all sorts of maps and information, seating, covered seating, most importantly. Green roof, yes. Wi-Fi. To be fair, actually, it's a great opportunity. And part of the reason we are looking at this today is that there are 3 bus shelters that are owned or maintained by the county for installation or replacement of the existing shelters. These are Hythe Pier, Hythe Hospital and Applemore Tesco. So 3 of the busiest areas for buses, I think, in our parish. And obviously there are works sort of to be undertaken there and a sort of shelter design there. But as I understand, this is work done, funded work elsewhere on behalf of the community that will be for these 3 core bus stops. Is there anything else to add, Sean?
No, as perhaps on the concept.
I was going to say there might be some money left over, which might be able to to go towards our other shelters.
Fantastic.
But we won't know until they've got their final pricing sorted. Is that right, Sean?
That's correct.
And time-wise at the moment for these shelters going live and being worked on,
I
that's
think
on the
they have
side.
to spend the money by next
March
March.
and April, yeah, they're going to go March and April, this is the programme.
Okay, so I've got 2 hands up, Philip and Malcolm.
Yes, I would say for anyone who's used the new fangled shelters and things and the apps, it has transformed passenger travel, particularly at night time. If you're going to a stop you've never been to before, and being able to use your app to see exactly where you are, you've got the times of the bus arrivals and things. It really does improve public transport, so I'm all in favour. Thank you.
Malcolm.
Yeah, Chairman, this is really good and something that we should support. But I want to ask about some of the bus shelters that are owned by Hampshire Council, that are owned by other either, because there's some commercially owned bus shelters, aren't there? Like the 2 in Forley Road by Metney. Is there a possibility of any funding to improve these? Because one of those is in a particularly poor state.
As you say, they're private. We have been in on-off negotiations with Clear Channel with the company for over 18 months. They offer us a contract. We weren't happy with the terms and we sought advice of Hampshire County Council and others. We're not getting any further. So at the minute, there's nothing planned for those 4 private bus shelters in this parish.
Is there any way, in your estimate, that we can move this forward?
No, because I understand other parishes and even the county are having problems with this company.
So who in the county you're dealing with?
Adam Craig.
Sorry?
Adam Craig.
Adam Craig. And the company is again?
Adshell.
How do you spell that?
Adshell, Adshel.
Yeah.
And then the parent company's Clear Channel.
Clear Shell.
Clear Channel.
Clear Channel. Okay, I'll write to him. So, see if we can get anything. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Gray.
Yeah. Chairman, could I ask you why the bus shelter opposite Langdown is still there? It's not used, the buses don't come down there, and we did bring this up before when we had a discussion about bus shelters. I think it's used for coaching couples and people that are taking short at the moment. So, it's getting very, very overgrown, and it's a waste of time because no buses come down there to go into Hythe.
So this is the bus opposite the junction that enters into Langdown Road, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously you've got the one on the right hand side, which is the buses that are
The one
leaving.
on the left hand side that goes to Calshot and then but the other bus doesn't come down. The bus doesn't come down into Hythe past Langdown.
Very good point, Sean.
The simple answer is it's expensive to remove them, and I've got nowhere to store it.
Sorry?
It's expensive to remove because it's a specialist job.
Right.
I've got nowhere to store it. When the county get here to look at these other ones later or early next year, then we might have a look at that at the same time and maybe swap an older one for that newer one that comes out.
Okay.
While we're on bus shelters, there's a bus shelter in Forley Road, Buttercup Close side, that the residents there tell me that is not used because it's a place where people get off, not on. And I've also let our ACSOs know that the shelter as it is, it gets used by drugs. So it would be worth if everything taken away.
Well, taking Sean's point about the cost of doing
Thank you.
it immediately and making sure.
You could those commercial.
No, that one owned on that is one of ours. I'm willing to talk to Adam because I'm not sure of the numbers. I don't take shelter away, people ready for profit.
Yeah, so people get off there and they don't get on.
Yeah, that's fine. That verifies.
So if that is the case, it's not needed, then we'll stop teenagers using drugs and that in it.
It's worth,
win-win.
it's worth also noting that if obviously there are reports of that, the ACSO needs to be made aware and
Well, I've let the ACSO know.
Thank you for calling that way for previously.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that information. Thank you, Alan. Anything else, the councillors, before we move on? Okay, so the report is for noting only, but I think that's welcome news to see some of those bus stops being worked on. They look very impressive. Now moving on to number 17, which is the Valleydean/Southern Water. But it's the letter that we received as our residents in Valleydean and all of Highlands Way, from what we're hearing. It's the letter and notification of the findings of the investigation undertaken by Southern Water into ownership and responsibility of the surface water pipe that runs along the eastern boundary of those properties in Valleydean. As discussed at the June 2022 meeting that councillors had with residents and representatives from Southern Water. The council to consider a response to Southern Water regarding any objection to Southern Water's proposal of reclassification. There's an additional document was the presentation Southern Water sent to us, and we will have an opportunity to look at the letter. Is there anything officers wish to add before I bring the council to the table? No? Any councillors wish to comment first? Is that a hand up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Vicky first.
I personally think it's a dangerous thing to start allowing the utility company to start reclassifying things. I think it would be the start, given the type of land and area that we are in, with the woods and how the development has grown, to just agree and accept this. I think there will be far more, once they've done the one, there'll be far more off the back of it they will be trying to do, and I don't think Southern Water should be allowed to do such a thing.
Councillor.
I was going to echo what Vicky has said. I think that if we allow this, I just think there are more and more areas that they're going to come and they'll be wanting to change more and more. And I don't feel that in the meeting they could even answer some questions. They look like a rabbit in headlights at times, so I don't really think that I'm not happy with it at all.
Councillor Cullen.
Similarly, I spoke to the guy and they couldn't seem to give me the rationale for the reclassification. It seemed like a team had been along there to do some work and then put into the system that it should be reclassified. He couldn't explain to me why it was being reclassified other than it's being reclassified.
Councillor, so obviously you've heard from a few councillors, but without going into details, obviously it's in private session, does the decision this council make impact further plans for dealing with residents on Valleydean? Because obviously we have to try and look at the sort of wider picture of what the council...
Another lawyer, sorry, I can't project out,
which is fair enough. Okay, Councillor Malcolm Wade, would you want to share what the county council say they're a stakeholder in this?
The county council has sent a very long and very complex legal document to them, which bases on the fact the three types of due diligence that this council and the county council have done, and it's purely from the county council. County council's position is they are not the landowner. Their responsibility is the piece under the road. They were involved in this to support the parish council on my behalf originally, but their actual legal requirement is purely the section underneath the road. They have no evidence to contradict or to challenge what Southern Water are going to do. Because they're not the landowner, they have no authority or position to challenge what Southern Water are saying, if you understand the position. So their view is they will not be challenging Southern Water. That's the county council's position. Right. Can I ask a question? I'm really unclear with this. We are going to discuss later a method for resolving this. Does the position this council take on this affect that? Because if it does, then we need to be really careful what we do. Because we want to fix this for the residents, for everybody. And we need to have that clear guidance before we shoot ourselves in the foot.
As I say, sorry, Councillor Fair next.
Yeah, Chairman, I've always felt uneasy about this whole situation. The Valley Dean is what it says, it's a valley, and water runs downhill. So obviously rainwater of any sort that lands on the land is going to run downhill to the bottom. But highways, whoever, run their water into that pipe. Now, to put it another way, if you put a pig in the pipe at the outlet, that's what you use a plug in the pipe. If you put that in the outlet from the drain up the main road, you wouldn't have the highways water going down through the pipe. So therefore there would be less water altogether and less chance of flooding. Now if they want to put water down through that pipe, they've got to take some responsibility for it. And the way when I read the change in the regulations on pipes, that if you've got more than one lot of water serving into one pipe, then Southern Water take responsibility for it, wherever it's just yours going into the mains, it's your responsibility. I've always been of the opinion that this is a Southern Water problem. And I can't change my attitude to that. I cannot see how this can be anything other than Southern Water's problem.
Okay. Any of the councillors wish to comment? So I see you.
I was just going to say, when we had the presentation from Southern Water, they indicated that they only needed one owner or one resident to come back to object to the reclassification, and that would trigger their proper consultation exercise, which would take probably about 12 months or so. And if one has already objected, which I understand from the public, one has, that process is already going to be triggered. I can't see what the council has to lose by not objecting. I can't see what the council has to lose if it objects or not objects, because one is I don't feel that officers here have the legal basis on which to prove the classification or non-classification, which is basically what Southern Water are going to come back and request. So if you actually object to it, then you can withdraw it later. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not going to be the finite answer.
So you're saying we should object?
Yeah, because I mean, we spent £40,000 on legal fees and they haven't come up with it. And I'm not a better brain than that. You know, is the proof there? I don't know. The process is going to be triggered anyway. Sorry?
So if you're going to speak, can you raise hands instead of mumbling?
No. There are implications whatever we do with this stuff.
Yeah, there are implications, and I don't know the legal implications because again I'm not a lawyer. I'm trying to think forward through this. In other words, if the council objects, then what's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? Southern Water will actually trigger the process, which is already been triggered anyway.
Can I quickly say something?
So I'm really sorry, this is that.
No, this is so ludicrous.
Sorry, Mr. Tyler, you had an opportunity to speak, and you were given quite a good opportunity to talk earlier, and we do have to.
All I'm saying is, if you do not respond, you are deemed to accept their intention to respond.
Sorry, the council is going to respond. That's why we're having the discussion as soon as possible. But council have to have an opportunity to talk, and you've heard what 4 or 5 minutes already, and that's why the item's on here. But you can't allow public participation at this stage, I'm afraid.
In support of residents, I think it's obviously a benefit to, if the July 22 option, which we're going to discuss later, if that goes through, then the discussions between residents of Ballydean and Southern Water, they can actually carry on to their benefit. So, you know, that there's a possibility that this council objecting is going to assist residents.
So just for clarification, so your point is that the council, do you mean that this council objecting to what Southern Water proposed will assist residents?
So that reclassification.
Yes. Is that the point that you meant, Sue? Sorry.
Yes. Yes. What I'm saying is, it's quite difficult to understand, isn't it? What has the council got to lose by objecting? It hasn't got anything to lose because it can't justify it. It can't prove it anyway. And it can withdraw it at a later stage. And that can assist residents if they choose to, take on the option letter, which we'll discuss later. But obviously we can't prove it, so we're only going to get Southern Water coming back afterwards and saying, well, we through it.
Okay, so 4 hands have come up. So Sandra, did you put your hand up as well? Me? Yeah. No, so I was just, with respect, Captain hasn't spoken yet, so let's get
The bottom line is that we have to take a reasonable view. The councillors who were at that meeting when Southern Water did their presentation, we have got to take a determination on, did the case that they put forward convince us on balance of reason, probability, that was something that we felt was right, or do we have questions about it? Do we feel that those questions were not answered sufficiently? And I would say on balance, if we're not satisfied that was a reasonable determination and it's been proved to us to be the case, we should say we are not satisfied. And it really is, it's a simple reaction to that. Either we are satisfied that they've made a good case for it, or we are not satisfied that the case has been made. And either they need to make a stronger case, or they need to accept that we're objecting to it.
Okay, I saw 3 hands up, Alan, Malcolm, Jem, but let's bring Jem in first, please.
I was just going to say, on the letter, do we have to give a reason to why we're objecting? Do we have to list things? Can we just say we object? Have we got to come now give you reasons to why?
I'm not sure what exactly, because again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not sure exactly what they will request. They will obviously request something as part of their consultation exercise, which I think is going to happen further down the line.
Yeah.
And that's the point where we have to consider, do you want to involve legal fees in doing this?
Thank you.
And the question is now, as you say, we can make a decision one way or another, and that consider objecting to Southern Water's proposal, and then make a decision on if we want to escalate it further with legal fees at a later date. We can still decide to object or not do this. Malcolm and then Alan, please.
Chair, first of all, no matter what we do, what the residents do, Southern Water are never going to accept. That's the reality, right? That's what it is, and we have to accept that fact, because that is the end product of this. Out of all this time, it's done it. However, I want to point one point, and I'll come to 2 points, and then come to an end. We, all along, this council has had deliberations that it was a water course. Right? That said at the very beginning, they said it's a water course. Well, that clearly is at odds. We're saying it's Southern Water's pipe. However, I would say I would be happy to support an objection to this on the caveat that it does not affect what we propose to do. We have to fix this for the residents, we have to fix it for the council. We don't want to spend any more money on legal fees, we've spent enough, right? No more, right? I will happily support this, providing it doesn't affect in any way what we want to do to resolve it, because we have a good plan to resolve this. If it doesn't affect that, fine, I'll go with it. If it's going to affect it, I won't do it, because we need to fix this. Instead of playing a long game of tennis, to and fro, we want to get this done. And if we've got a way, the residents are satisfied with it, the council is satisfied with it, and we can fix it, we need to do that. And I don't want any decision, meaningless attack, whether we're going to support or not, in Southern Water to get in the way of it. And if the clerk says it won't affect it, I'll go and object it.
Alan, your next. Thank you, Malcolm.
Yeah, I support what Philip was saying about this. Did they make a clear case? Well, they didn't. As much as it galled me, Dr. Roger Bird asked questions that they weren't able to answer. And it didn't satisfy me that they got a good case for rejecting it. So I would say, whilst I agree with Malcolm that we've got a plan to sort it by supporting the residents in this, they've already objected to it, so it's going to be a delay anyway. But just supporting it, it won't make any difference to us, because if they've already delayed it, it's delayed, full stop. So I can't see why we don't just support the residents and we just agree with them.
Sorry, Steve.
The only anomaly I can see, one is that the residents, if they accept the option that we're going to discuss later, it still allows them the ability to pursue Southern Water at the same time, which is what I think that's the way you're referring to. The only caveat is that can we fix a pipe which we are saying of one part belongs to someone else? The only way I think we could do that is that if we thought that there was a danger of safety in that area for some reason, I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but if we thought that that was a temporary fix and we were just helping a situation, you could possibly do it under that guise. I'm trying to find solutions on how to do this.
We can't spend money on someone else's asset.
That's true.
No, but we can try and mitigate things going wrong, which is why it was that one little bit was broken in the first place, to try and alleviate the safety concern.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Joins.
I think the only reason Hampshire aren't objecting is because they don't have a legal ground to object, because the piece that they're responsible for is on the highways. I think if they had the ability, like we have with the ownership bit down and everything else, I think they would be objecting to it. So I do genuinely think we would be in a better position, as with the residents and the rest of the parishioners around here, if we object, because I think it will be the thin end of the wedge.
Thank you. Okay. Any councillors who've not contributed have anything to add? So, the loud to speak no. So it's Councillors Roberts, Delamere, Lodge. Anything you wish to say at all? You okay?
I would support exactly what you've just said there. It will be at the end of the wedge. We'd have to do something. So I would like to propose that we reject it.
Okay, so I haven't proposed, as it happens from the chair, as I say, I was at the meeting too, and I've read the report, I've tried to read it again and understand it again, and I'm uncomfortable with being convinced of it personally, and I do have some doubts myself, but I think a lot of the points have been made, so we won't go over them. I have a proposer to object to Southern Water's request to reclassify the pipe. I do apologise. And again, from changing it to a public, from a public to a private water service. That's correct wording, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, I'll check.
Yeah. So I have a proposal from Councillor Lodge and I have a second from Councillor Fairhead. So can I have all in favour of objecting? And now I have all those against. Was that against, Councillor Wade?
No.
Okay. Any abstentions? One. So that's carried. Okay. So we're now going to move on to item 18, which is finance 2022-2023. Can I just say thank you very much for presenting.
Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
I do too.
Thank you. So the first bit of finance is to receive the final conclusion audit notice from the external auditor. Again, really good news, noting there are no matters of concern raised whatsoever. Can I just say firstly from the chair, thank you to Sue, to Sean, to Bev, to Claire and all the officers for their incredible work on the finance side. Bev is just fantastic finance officer. Is there anything you wish to add?
No, it's perfect order.
Perfect order. Am I we to vote these or for noting?
That's just to receive it and note it.
Thank you. So again, just to receive the final conclusion of the audit notice. Any comments at all, councillors? Again, very well done. Thank you very much. We now move on to item B, which is to receive the bank reconciliation notice for August 2022. Does anyone have any comments? And thirdly, to approve the accounts payment for August 2022. Does anyone see anything they wish to comment? Three so proposed. All in favour? Thank you. Lastly, we come to item D, which is to confirm that Hythe and Dibden Parish Council does not wish to opt out of the external auditor scheme and appoint its own separate external auditor. The proposal is that it will remain part of a standard opt-in audit system where an auditor is automatically appointed. And who is it appointed by? Is it SLCC?
No, it's done by, isn't it the audit commission? It's the external audit appointment body.
So,
I don't recommend that you opt out, I really don't.
okay, so I was about to say thank you. So this has worked very well for the council. There's no guarantee of cost improvements elsewhere, and the opt-in scheme allows us to be within the process and like very many similar other councils of our size. Is that
And
fair?
the majority in the UK, England and South and Wales.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone have any questions, any counterpoints? So can I have a proposal, please, because this I can't vote. All in favour, say aye. Vote yeah. Okay, any against, any abstentions? No, thank you. So that is carried. Thank you very much. Now this leads us then to the exclusion of the press and public.
Right, I'm going.
Good evening, Mr. Sweater. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for making the right decision on Southern Water. Very much appreciated, and I'll inform the residents about it as well. Thanks very much.
Have a nice evening, sir.
Thank you.
Shut the door, record enough. Thank you.